Hi, kindergarten, first and second grade leaders. We're getting ready for January 21st, and we are talking about commitment this month. As we talk about commitment today, we are going to be talking about Matthew 16, where Jesus looks at his disciples and asks them, "Who do you say that I am?" A lot of other people have called him all kinds of things, and he looks back at them and he says, "But who do you say I am?" And I'm excited about this lesson with kids and where that could take us in our discussions. Your social activity this week is a playground game that you possibly grew up playing on the playground. I know I did. It's called What Time Is It? You're supposed to ask Mom, what time is it? And have a line. Kids will be at the line, kind of like red light, green light kind of thing, and they walk that many steps towards you until it's dinner time, and when it's dinner time, you yell dinner time, and they're going to try to flee to get back to the starting line, but you're going to try to tap as many kids as you can to eat them, but you're not really going to eat them. You're just going to get them excited about being a part of small group and doing what we're doing in small groups. That really is the whole point of the social. It's to break down and have an icebreaker so that it makes it easier and sets the tone for what your group is going to be like later. Then we will do our large group time, and in our large group time, we will be talking about who do you say that I am? And as we look at that, we want for kids to understand that when we ask that question, who do I say that God is, then we're also putting ourselves in a place where we can explain that to other people. Because I can explain who God is to me, hopefully I'll be able to explain that to somebody else of who God is to me, and that God could be that exact same person for them, because it's God's character to be that for them. So that's where we are. Your activity this week that I really, really, really want you to try with your kids is an activity sheet that looks like this. Each kid's going to get a piece of one of these pieces of paper, and then if you can see on there's some dotted lines at the bottom. They're going to cut those out. You have some glue sticks or some tape, and they can glue those into the spots where they think it goes in your comic strip. And as you're working through that, they encourage you to read the story together, and maybe you want for after everybody's finished their pages, maybe pull them in close. I've seen some of you like to pull your kids over on the floor. You're more than welcome to do that. When you pull them over on the floor, it makes it a much more intimate time where you can tell the story, and maybe you can take turns acting out. Now, who said this, and what did they say, and who did they call God, and who's Elijah, and talk through some of all of those things. And ultimately, we want to get to where Peter says, "You are the Messiah, you are God's Son." And you may want to bring it up with everybody, that there may be somebody in this circle who doesn't know that Jesus was God's Son. And because he was God's Son, he was perfectly God. And it is our responsibility to learn and to believe in that so that we can have a personal relationship with God in the future. And you may want to tell about a time. It may in our curriculum, frequently it says make it personal. And in that make it personal time, it's really a time for you to reflect and for you to share a age-appropriate story with kids to help them relate that to their lives. Some of you as adults may have found faith, and that's okay. There's still some parts of your story that are very appropriate for kids. They may not have to know all the nitty-gritty details, but them understanding that you had to say, Jesus is the Son of God, and because he's the Son of God, I'm going to believe in him. And then today we want for kids to take away, their big takeaway is to practice talking about God. Now, if God's not a part of the everyday conversation in their house, it's going to be harder for a lot of the kids to have that conversation about God, because the only time they talk about Him is when they're here at church. So I would approach it like that with the kids. Talk to them, bring them in and say, hey guys, are there times where you find it's really hard to talk about God? And let them tell you of those things. And if it's hard, maybe you guys could brainstorm together some ways to make it easier. Like, what are some things that we've learned here that you could take into your home, your school, your everyday life, wherever you do life, and talk about God in those places too. When we are winning with kids, when they feel comfortable talking about God in their comings and then their goings and their rising up and their lying down in their everyday life, when they feel comfortable in knowing who God is and that they talk about it, and that's the normal everyday life, we have won. We have helped them become a disciple who is growing in their walk, and that's what we want. We're not going to probably accomplish that in 1 week, and I understand that, but I just want you to understand the perspective of when we give them these little bits and pieces, we're helping them put that puzzle together for the long term, okay? Your Bible memory verse activity. Today you have pipe cleaners. The kids love pipe cleaners. Each kid gets one pipe cleaner, and they're supposed to use their pipe cleaner to make a representation of a way that they are growing. And I would encourage them to think about the different things we've talked about so far. One was in building our house on a firm foundation. So maybe they're thinking about that. Maybe they are thinking about praying and how they pray to God. And after this week, maybe they're thinking about how they can talk about God in their everyday life, how they can talk about Him. And so those are some ideas. If you have some kids who are new to us, they may not know all of those things, and that's okay. Maybe they have some other ways. Maybe you can encourage them to look at their words or how they treat people. Or maybe they can just take a break from something for a minute so they don't get so angry. Or maybe they can give mom a hug more often, because they're finding love in a different way, okay? And then you'll pray with them and ask for them to think about one person that they'd like to pray for, that they think that person might need to hear about God more, and that you will pray with them and be their partner in praying to help that person understand who God is. I love you guys, and I thank you so much for what you're doing with us in small groups. Can't wait to continue to build on our small group times together and watching your kids grow. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.